Well, good evening, friends, and welcome to the Modifier right here at Proficiency Bonus. I'm so glad that you're tuning in with us tonight. First off, I just wanted to say thank you for all the support, and thank you for a couple of our sponsors and our supporters that we've got. We want to thank Streamlabs, also Twitch, for allowing us to be a part of their affiliate program. We want to thank Team MZ. We want to thank Nightshade Creations, and we also want to throw a big shout out to Many Sided Dice for their support as well. This week on Proficiency Bonus, we're celebrating 1 year as being in this streaming biz. So we're so happy that you're hanging out with us tonight. And tonight, I thought, why don't we delve into a little bit about virtual tabletops? The one that we use here at Proficiency Bonus is Roll20, which you can find at roll20.net. Roll20 is a virtual tabletop, meaning that it allows you to be able to play Dungeons and Dragons and other role-playing games from your computer. And tonight, I wanted to go through some different things and answer some questions about how you can set up your own digital tokens for players. And this is kind of like a beginner's guide on how you can set up things. Also wanted to talk a little bit about setting up and creating your own monster manuals using Roll20. So I know that sometimes when we get into this Roll20, there's a lot of things that we've got to learn. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there that Roll20 already produces that shows you and helps to guide you through different concepts when it comes to how to set up player tokens, character sheets, and things like that. One of the things that I have found sometimes is there isn't a specific video that shows me exactly how I want to do something, or there's not a specific video that shows me a certain problem that I may be having. And I decided to do a video live here on Twitch to show you how to do some of those things that I've come across that have been problems, and show you how you can fix those problems within your tabletop roleplay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over and I'm going to show you guys my screen right now, and I'm going to go over to a full screen mode right now, so you guys will be able to see exactly what's going on and exactly what I'm doing live as we kind of delve into this. And the first thing that you'll notice is I have already created a new character. This is the Roll20 virtual tabletop that you're seeing. We've got the map all laid out here. I've got my character all set right here in the top right hand corner. I've added a new character. And the way that you do that is easy. You can go up here to this button where it says add here in the browser. You click on add, you click character, and it will bring you up a box that looks just like this. What you can do here is you can change the name of this to your character name. And in players' journals, this is who can see this character. I'm going to set it to myself and can be edited and controlled by. I'm going to change that to myself. So I'm just going to keep the stock name right there for now. And when you click Save Changes, it will give you the option for this new thing called a Character Mancer, which we're going to opt out of that right now. And that will take us right to the character sheet for this character. If we close that, we can see that this new character is present there. That's all I did for Rex right here. So I've got Rex's character sheet. And I've got some of Rex already filled out. Some of the important things that you need to have filled out when you're adding a token to a character sheet is making sure that you have the current hit points and max hit points filled in. Another area that you want to make sure that you've got filled in is the armor class. That's important whenever you're syncing your token to your character sheet so that it shows up when we put this all together. Another thing that I wanted to make sure is my ability modifiers were put in, so that way I have a perception score down here under skills, which gives me this passive wisdom perception. As a dungeon master / GM, I enjoy having that number in there and added onto my tokens because it's an easy, quick thing for me to look at. Say an enemy is hiding from your characters. You don't want to call out a perception check. That kind of give them the idea that something is hidden from them and they should be looking around for it. So I've got Rex. His character sheet is not finished, but I've got him set up enough to go ahead and put a token in for his character. Now, see, the problem with this is he's already got a token, so you could be happy with that if you wanted to be. You can kind of pull this over right on his name, and you can drag him right onto the map. But then it's like, what is this? This is like just like the silhouette of a bluish purple person here. That is your token for your character right now. But say you wanted to get a little bit more artsy with it. You wanted to do a little bit more with your character tokens. I've discovered some simple things that might help you in creating these. The first thing that I'm going to do is show you how I make simple character tokens that I can use for Rex. I'm going to delete that one right off the virtual tabletop. I'm going to minimize this for right now, and I'm going to pull up Microsoft PowerPoint. And I have its own presentation right here set to, I call it Digital Token Maker. And I use this to create a lot of my tokens. You see, I've got some tokens already set here for an ogre. I've got a warg right here. I've got some giant rats all set out here. I'm going to click on this second page, and I've got some tokens for my character Rex, and I've got 2 different tokens that I've created. Now, I've drawn this out, and I've got a drawing that I'm going to drag here from my desktop. This is a drawing I did of Rex. He's my Kenku monk that I played in a one-shot recently with. So I kind of just sketched them out really quick. This isn't a refined drawing by any means, but it just gives you guys an idea on how you can create your own tokens. The one thing that I did when I'm creating these tokens is I want to minimize the size, because I want the size of my tokens to be relative to the virtual tabletop and the space that it takes up. Most D&D medium-sized creatures are 1 inch by 1 inch. They play on a 1 inch by 1 inch grid. 1 inch, the 1 inch squares equal 5 feet on most of the maps that you will play on. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shrink this drawing down a little bit, so that way I can get it to be a little bit smaller size. Another thing I want to do is I'm going to crop this image a little bit. And the way that I'm going to crop it, I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit so you guys might be able to see a little bit better as I'm cropping this now. The first thing that I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and crop, just go ahead and click on the crop. And I'm just going to crop the image just a bit. Just kind of where I can get basically his head into the middle of the token. So I'm going to just work on that right now. And cut a little bit of the sides out of here. I might even cut this one out a little bit more over on this side. Keep it relatively a square, so to speak. And when you finish cropping, you've got a shape that looks somewhat like this. Another thing that you can do is you notice that these PowerPoint has all these picture styles already accessible for you. I'm going to select, maybe we'll have like a thin black line around this token. Just something simple. And I'm going to mask this thing to a shape. So if you go to this little arrow beside crop where it says mask to shape, you can go over here to basic shapes and hit this circle shape or oval shape that it has included in there. And you'll see that it automatically changes yours to an oval shaped token. So if you're going for more of the round token look, this is an easy way that you can do that. If you want to keep them square, you can do that too. There's no problem. And we're going to take this and I'm going to right click on the token. And I'm going to click on Format Picture. And it's going to bring me up this box. And the one thing that I want to double check is I want to double check the size. And you guys can see I'm pretty close when it comes to the size. I'm going to unclick the lock aspect ratio here. And I'm going to make sure that each one of these, the height and the width says 1 inch. So I'm going to make that say 1 inch. And then I'm going to hit OK. And now I know that my token is sized at 1 inch by 1 inch. It's ready to go. Another cool thing about this formatting is it has a little bit of a shadow on it, so that a little shadow might appear as you plug it into your virtual tabletop. So this is a cool, simple token. See, I've got 3 different Rex tokens here that I've been practicing with, that you can add different things to the border to design your tokens as you wish. Now, of course, you can take these tokens into Photoshop, you can take them into GIMP or any of your other photo editing software, and you could really stylize them if you wanted to. I just found that that's generally not the area that I spend most of my time. I spend most of my time in world building and character development and creation of that sorts. I don't spend much time in just designing the tokens. I get them to where they look half decent, then I go with it. But it's totally up to you. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to right click on my token. I'm going to click Save as Picture. Now what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're saving this as a PNG file. So I'm going to save this as Rex new token because I have some other Rex tokens. Just for time's sake, I'm just going to save it to the desktop, and I will click save. And down here at the bottom of the screen, I can open my Rex token, and there's my Rex token. A little bit of a shadow on the edge. And notice that the background here is all gray, meaning that it's going to turn up transparent as an image, which will make sure that it's round whenever we plug it into Roll20. So I've got Rex, a really cool token set. I'm going to go ahead and save all my changes in my PowerPoint. And we'll go ahead and open up our Virtual Tabletop. And using Roll20, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get this Rex token set. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to open up my character sheet, and I'm going to click on Edit here in the top right-hand corner of my character sheet. And it says Avatar right here. What I can do is I could drag the token there, or I could drag my drawing. I'm going to drag my drawing there, and it automatically is going to import that drawing into in this character sheet. Now, if I drag that over right now, I believe what it'll do is it will have that image as the token if I bring it over. So I'll have this image as a token. So you can just drive it, just pull it into the avatar spot. We'll pull that over, but I want to show you a little bit more detail and a little bit better way to set up your tokens so that way you're not having to do a lot of work throughout the process. If you set these tokens up right from the beginning, it's a little bit of work on the front end, but it will really help you out when it comes time to move your tokens from one map to another within the virtual tabletop. It'll just make your life as a DM, GM so much easier when you get further into the story, further into combat, further into the encounters. It would definitely help out. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that right off there, and I'm going to reopen my character sheet. I'm going to go back. Actually, before I do that, I'm just going to drag this picture from my desktop. I'm going to drag it onto this virtual tabletop. Now, I haven't figured this out yet. This is something that maybe somebody can comment on. But one thing that I haven't figured out yet is why, even at 1 inch by 1 inch in my PowerPoint creating these tokens, that my tokens don't always turn out exactly the size that I want them to. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of shrink this down so it fits into one of these boxes, and I've got it snapped to grid right now, so that way it'll snap right into that 5 by 5 foot square on Roll20. So I've got this Rex token in there. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you guys can see what I'm doing. So there's my new Rex token. And now I've got to get all the information that I want to show up on my token to actually be here in these circles, and to be there when I'm switching from map to map or from encounter to encounter. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this little gear, and down here under this basic tab it says represents character. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in RE, and we're going to scroll down, and we've got Rex right here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put that on Rex. Yeah, I'm with you, Josh. I haven't found that setting yet, but I'm going to try to find it. I thought it had something to do with the size that you made your token in your either PowerPoint or Photoshop or something like that. But every time I drag it in, it seems like each token is a different relative size based on what I save it as. So I'm still wrestling with that part. But if you figure it out or find it, Josh, I would love it if you would drop me a message and let me know how to do that. I'm still kind of learning this stuff. That's exactly right. Rex was born. I'm going to go ahead and click on Show Nameplate, so it'll show everybody the name. Determined by character settings within the character sheet. So that's all set there. Next thing I do is usually I set bar 1, since it's green, I set that to HP. So I'm going to click on where it says None here, and I'm going to type in HP, and it's going to scroll down here, and there it is, 10 out of 10. I've got my hit points set. Bar 2 is blue. I usually set that to passive perception. It's just a DM tool that I like to have. So when I type in pass, it automatically comes out to passive wisdom, which basically I believe passive wisdom is going to be the same thing as our passive perception. So, but you can go to passive perception mod. Passive perception mod is going to be 0. So we're going to set that to passive wisdom, which ends up being 12, which is the same thing as your passive perception, which I like to have as a dungeon master because I like to hide things from my players, and they know it. And I don't really like to call out perception checks when I don't want them to know something is there. So as a dungeon master, I really like that feature to be something that I can see. Bar number 3 right here with the red, I like to make that my armor class. Because as a dungeon master, I don't like to ask my players every time I roll an attack if something hits. I think that slows down combat, it slows down play, it disengages, it turns it into more of a game feel. When I know it's a game, but I want them to be completely immersed in it. I usually only ask it if I know there's some kind of a spell under effect that would change their armor class. But this is something that I like to have there as a dungeon master, just so it makes my life so much easier. And it makes the game more engaging and combat go a little bit quicker. Another thing I like to do for PCs is I like to put a little bit of a aura around them. Just so, especially when we broadcast on Twitch, people can see who the players are and who the enemies are. So what I like to do is I like to make the good guys green because, hey, you know, Luke Skywalker's lightsaber, right? I'm going to go in here to advanced. I'm going to make sure to click has sight. If you wanted to do all of this, if you wanted to give, I like to give player permissions. I like them to be able to see all these things. It just it's easier when the players can see each other. For monsters, I won't check all this off because most of the time for a monster, I want the role-playing aspect to be there. So I don't like to give away the names of monsters or anything like that. I know a couple of my players are dungeon masters themselves, and I know they know most of the monsters and their statistics and stuff like that anyway. But it's something that I like to keep hidden from them. And it's just give more of that drama, that dramatic feel for everything. I'm not going to mess with any of this advanced Fog of War stuff. I'm just going to click the has sight there. And once we get this done, all I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I save the changes. And now you'll see that inside the circles above the token, I've got all my statistics that I need. And it includes, because I put 10 out of 10 in that hit points bar, it actually gives you a meter right here that will actually go down, say, if Rex loses some hit points. So let's say Rex gets hit for 2 points of bludgeoning damage. You can see that now he's down to 8 points. And there we go. We've got that kind of set up. So I'm going to change that back to a 10 to get that filled up. Now, here's where a lot of people make a mistake. They get all this set up and they forget to save it. And the way that you get this information saved is you have to click back on Rex over here on the right to open up this character sheet. You go up here to the top right corner where it says edit and you click there. Now, under here it's going to say default token optional. To me, it's not an option. I love to put my default token in here because it gets everything set. So that way when you move one of your players to another map, you or they can take their own tokens and they can drag them right onto the map where they're located. It saves you as a dungeon master and a GM a whole lot of time because you don't have to go in and edit these tokens each and every time that you want to switch encounters or switch battles or switch maps. It makes it so much easier. So I'm just going to go ahead, since I already got that token selected right here, I'm going to hit use selected token. And it will put this token saved just as it is inside and attach it to the character sheet. So we want to save those changes. And now this monk Rex has a token and it's attached to his character sheet. So that means that if I get into an encounter and I'm battling this guy with a torch right here, and I say I take 3 points of damage, so I subtract 3 down to 7. I've got all this in here. Now what happens if we move to a different screen, or for some reason we go somewhere else, we're visiting there for a while, and then we come back to this map? What happens then? So I can actually delete this token. Rex is gone. if I did not save it as the default token, when I would drag that token back out onto the map, none of those things that we would have placed in those top bubbles would be there. But now, since I saved all this to the character sheet, I'm going to go drag Rex on here again. And when I click on it, everything, even the current hit point value, is saved. So that way, if you move these tokens to another map, boom, there it is. I know a lot of people have been using Roll20 for a long time, and I still see newer Dungeon Masters make the mistake of not setting these up right off the bat. It'll save you a ton of time, I promise. If you're setting up your players or getting a session 0 together, this might be another good thing to do after the character sheets have been done, or in between your session 0 and your session 1, just to get everybody ready. Saves a lot of time, especially time where you want to be playing the game. You don't want to be editing tokens while you're playing with your friends online. So, there's that. And that's really all there is to it when it comes to attaching and creating a token through and using Roll20. And that only took me roughly 20 minutes to explain all that to you. Now, if I was going through and I was just creating these tokens and busting them in here, you could probably do several of these tokens within the span of 20 minutes. So it doesn't take too long up front, but this time that you're putting in on the front end will save you a lot of in-game time editing these things and getting them set up. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope it makes your life a lot easier if you're using Roll20. This is something that I didn't really know how to do coming into Roll20 at the very beginning. I kind of stumbled upon it along the way on how to do these things. There are other videos out there that show you how to do tokens and create your own monster manuals and such, but some of the videos are just too long. So that was just one thing that kind of deterred me away from watching all of them. I watched some of them, but I like to just get in there, and I'm the kind of person that kind of skips the directions on things and just kind of likes to go for it. So these are all things that I've kind of stumbled on myself. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of Rex. We're going to go ahead and finish up with that. Next thing I was going to go over is how you can build and customize your own monster manual within Roll20. I know that you can purchase the monster manual via Roll20, and that might be a good idea if you want to save some time. I'm not really sure of the cost on it. I think it might be the same as the book. And you can also purchase the player's handbook, which allows you to be able to pull some of the stuff directly from that handbook right into your game. But let's say this is actually a monster manual that I've been creating myself. I've created this monster manual for Lost Mines of Phandelver. And these are a lot of the things that I used within that game. And I had to, when the Lost Mines of Phandelver wasn't really a module that you could purchase on Roll20 when I started running it. So I had to do a lot of the groundwork myself. I didn't get too far in this, but I was going to go ahead and show you guys how you can easily start to build your own monster manual. The first thing I did was I just added a new folder here that was called Monster Manual. And that way, whenever you create these characters, it's easy enough to just drag them down into this area of monster manual wherever you want to drag them to within your folders. And the cool thing about this too is I organize mine alphabetically. You can organize them any way that you want. I'm going to right click on this guy and I'm going to go ahead and delete him. I don't need that guy. I'm just going to get rid of him. So let's make a monster. Let's go ahead and make a skeleton. How about a good skeleton? Since we had an interesting encounter that we had a hero skeleton in our last episode of Storm King's Thunder. So we're going to go ahead and add a good old skeleton. If you missed that episode, you really need to go on YouTube and check it out. It was a hoot. It was a lot of fun. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to click on Add a Character. And we're going to name it Skeleton. Because we're going to make a skeleton here. I'm going to go ahead and save. Actually, I'm going to put it in my journal. And I'm going to say it can be edited and controlled by me. So we're going to save those changes. Now I'm going to go ahead and opt out of the character mancer for right now again. And the one thing that you will notice when you add a new character sheet, if you're making a monster manual, you need to change your character sheet to an NPC sheet. And the way that you do that is very easy. You just go over here to this little cog wheel right here next to spells. You click on that, and in this first box to the right here to the right, you'll see a little checkbox that says NPC. I'm just going to check that off, and you'll see that it gives me a blank NPC character sheet, because the character sheets for NPCs are a little bit more streamlined, a little simpler than the big drawn-out player character sheets. So now I have it to where I can edit this. And cool thing about Roll20 is a lot of these NPC sheets are already available for you. You don't have to go in here and type in each one of these things individually. That would take you forever. The cool thing about Roll20 is if you go over here and you click on this little eye that has the dark circle around it, which says Compendium, we're going to click on that, and we're going to search, and we're going to type in our search, skeleton. And here's some different skeletons already. Here we got a Minotaur skeleton, we got a regular skeleton, we got a Warhorse skeleton. So yeah, we got all our skeletons set. I'm going to click on skeleton, and I'm going to drag him over here. And you'll see it's accepting drop from Compendium. Yes, I'm going to let that go. And boom. Your skeleton NPC sheet is now attached to the character bar. You're right, Chris. The skeleton will never give up. I have a feeling that we haven't seen the last of Mr. Skeleton. So, spoilers. Hope you guys are having a good night tonight. So, I've got my skeleton in here. It's got all of his attacks already in here. Got all of his immunities, condition immunities, all these things already there, so you don't have to type that in. And it makes it so easy. So I'm going to go back up here to edit. And the cool thing about this when you're editing your own monster manual is if you're just playing with your buddies. Oh, Chris, I hear you, man. My father-in-law had some trees cut down the other day, and we were responsible for moving all the lumber this morning. So my shoulders, back, arms are killing me. We've been just hauling wood all day long. So it's been an exhausting day. Hope you can get some rest and relaxation tonight, man. Oh yeah, tell me about it. Tell me about it, Chris. Yeah. So we're going into this skeleton sheet right here. And cool thing about this is you can take any artwork that you want and you can drag it in here. I got this skeleton 5e. I'm just going to drag this skeleton 5e image that I found online. And I'm going to drag it in here as the avatar. So there's cool Mr. Skelly right there. He's got some arrows like sticking in his back. His armor's like all rotted and ripped and fallen off. It's perfect. His sword is broken. Just a perfect image. It's the one right out of the monster manual from 5th edition. And what I did is I actually took Mr. Skeleton here and I made a token for him. I'm just going to go ahead and save those changes for now. I'm going to close out of this character sheet because I already have it right here. I've got Skeleton. There's his avatar set. I've got a skeleton token already built the same way that I built it on PowerPoint. So I'm going to drag the skeleton onto the character sheet, or onto the virtual tabletop here. So there I've got the skeleton. He's a medium-sized creature, so we're going to put him in that 5-foot square. Now I've got to attach him to the character sheet that I made for him. So we're going to go in here. We're going to put in represents character. SK brings us to a skeleton. We click on that. Show nameplate. We can do that. Determined by character settings. That's fine. So we're going to put hit points, HP, in the first one. it says 13, so we want to make sure that it has a 13 in the other side to give us that green bar across the top for hit points. We're going to take this next box. I'm going to make that passive wisdom. Now, one thing that I found out is there is a separate section for all these NPC-based statistics. So we've got NPC performance, NPC perception. I think we can go ahead and click NPC perception, and that should give us... No, that's not going to give us the right one. I thought there was an NPC passive perception. Maybe it's NPC perception base. Perhaps it's not. Thought there was a place in there for this. We can try passive wisdom for this and see if that does anything. It gives us a 9. We'll have to check and see if that's correct on the character sheet. That's a good question, Josh. I'm not sure what the pixel size is. I might have to look that up. I've got it sized at 1 inch by 1 inch in PowerPoint, but it's probably not how it saves as a PNG. The pixel sizes may be different. So you may be onto something there. And you're right, Josh. I'm thinking that passive wisdom is correct. I'm going to have to check and make sure that 9 is right. The red bar, I'm going to put, I think it's NPC AC. Should be the first one. There it is. You always have to make sure that one says NPC, because if you put in regular AC, I've never gotten the right number to log in there for our NPCs. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a 0.5 circular aura around this. I'm going to make it red for an enemy because I want them to stand out. Advanced, I'm going to leave all these blank so that my players can't see how many hit points this Skelly has left. I don't want them to know that it's on death's door or something like that. I do that in the descriptions of the combat. I don't really like to do the numbers stuff. I'm going to give it has sight. Skeletons actually might have dark vision. We're going to say they do for this instance while we're here. They might have 60 feet of dark vision. So the reason I do this, the creature's not really emitting light, because if it was glowing light, I would check off this. Like, say this skeleton was on fire. If it was like a blazing skeleton, then I might click this box to say all players see the light, because that would mean that light would be protruding from that character. But what I'm doing for this is I'm actually giving it the effect of dark vision by doing 60 feet and then a -5 feet. This gives it that grayish light tone that kind of comes out from that NPC. You can do this with player characters as well to make it look like they're seeing this dim light that comes out from the map, while per se human characters or Dragonborn that don't have dark vision, they would see nothing but a black screen in their token. So that's a way that you can do that. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to save these changes to my token. And there we go. And you can see that the skeleton is actually emitting a little bit of light as I move it around here on this map. You can see that the skeleton has some of this light. That's to show that dark vision that it has. You can see out that far. And that's just really cool. That's how I set up this map. This was a map that I was practicing a lot of my setting up these corners and things for the dynamic lighting, which I have another video that shows you how to do that on the YouTube channel. If you guys are interested in dynamic lighting, I did a lot of that with this map on that video. So as I take the skeleton token, I'm really happy with it. I'm going to set it as the default token. And I'm going to show you a little mistake that I discovered on my own in hopes that it'll prevent you from making this mistake. When I go to click on edit, I'm going to use this selected token as my default token, and I'm going to plug that into this character sheet. So now I've got my skeleton completely finished. The character sheet is connected to that token. It is all good to go. I'm going to save my changes. We're good. We've got it set. So here's the issue that I'm having. And I had this issue and I finally figured out how to fix it. I'm going to show you guys how to do that today. Let's say there's not just one skeleton. Let's say I've got 3 or 4 skeletons. So let me drag 2 more skeletons in here. Now you can see my token is set correctly because it comes in the right size. It has everything. Let's say this character comes up and attacks this token, this skeleton right beside him. So I'm going to click on that token. And let's say he does 5 points of damage. Watch what happens. Oh, whoa. He's now down to 8, but look at the other 2 skeletons. Boom. It totally did it to all 3 skeletons. Now that would be great if I was casting Fireball on all of them, and I wanted all of them to lose those hit points. But in this occasion, he's only attacking 1. Yeah, it mirror images it, because it has that character sheet attached to the token. So it doesn't matter how many tokens you put out there, they're all going to be attached to the same character sheet. So that's where I started to play around, and I found actually a forum that helped me with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to boost this guy back up to his full hit points, which I believe was 13. So I've got them set up. I'm going to delete these other 2 skeletons for now, and I'm going to show you how to fix this, because this is a problem that I had, and it aggravated me for the longest time. I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. So when you open up the skeleton NPC character sheet, here it is. We're going to go back to edit, and we're going to we're not going to do that just yet. We're actually going to open up the token. So we're going to click on the gearbox, little gear cogwheel. Now over here on the right where our bars are set, all of these bars are linked to the character sheet. So if I have multiple tokens out there, they're still all going to be hooked to that one character sheet based on what this says. So what I have to do is I have to click on HP right here, and I'm gonna type in NO to get me to none, and I'm gonna go back to none and unlock that from the character sheet. Now you'll notice that the 13 out of 13 is still there for the hit points. Didn't change that, which is a good thing because it just automatically imported them from the character sheet in the first place. So that's a good way to import them quickly. But now I've got none. Now I don't think I even want passive perception on there, because what if something changes based on perception? So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to put none for all of these. So I've got none, and it didn't change the number. So now it still represents this character, so I'm still synced to that skeleton character sheet, but I'm not locked in with these numbers anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and save changes to that token. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my token, or my skeleton character sheet, open that up, click on edit. I'm going to remove my default token. Yes, I want to delete it. And I should still have that skeleton selected. I do. I'm going to use selected token. I'm going to save those changes. So now I've got this skeleton token. All the numbers are correct right here. And now I've got 1 token right here. So now I want an encounter with 3 skeletons. So I'm going to drag on some more skeleton friends. Hey, you can't have enough skeletons. Come on. Gotta have some sweet skeletons out there. Now my hero comes up and he's gonna whack one of these guys. So he's gonna attack this one first. So we're gonna subtract the 5 hit points from this one. Now you'll notice that the hit points are only for this particular token. It's not 100% synced with that character sheet that all of them will change. Now you can drag as many skeletons on there as you want and have complete control over their hit point values and whatever else that you need. So it makes that so much simpler to set up your monster manual in that way. And I'm so glad that I stumbled upon that forum that helped me out with this, because it was very frustrating. So, that being said, I've got my skeletons. They're ready to go for my character sheet. I'm just going to go ahead and delete them. And the cool thing about this is you always have this now. Anytime I want to encounter with skeletons, or anytime Mulfin Green East decides he wants to create a skeleton out of some bones or a dead corpse that he had found, you just take the skeleton, you drag it right onto your virtual tabletop, and boom, there he is. And all his statistics are right there, ready for you. You can double click to access his character sheet. If you want to attack with a short sword or short bow, you just click right on the action and it automatically does it for you. It makes this virtual tabletop, in my opinion, very user-friendly. I know there are some quirks that you have to discover, but once you do, it's easy to get over those roadblocks. Yeah, see, I was right. Dark vision to up to 60 feet. So I got that correct. And the passive perception is 9. So if you put passive wisdom in under that blue heading, you can get that 9 there. And I always like to have that, especially if the players are trying to sneak up against these skeletons. I know what their stealth rolls have to be in order to do that. So that skeleton, we can take him out there. And actually, we can take him and we can put him in our character sheet. Well, actually, you have to grab his little picture right here, and if you start to grab him, and you can move him down here. I don't think Roll20 will scroll for you, so you have to set him down and scroll a little bit. I wish it would scroll a little bit easier. There's Mr. Skeleton. We'll put him right there. And I've got a bunch of other tokens, and I actually might have to fix these tokens to do what I just did with Mr. Skeleton, because I think they're all synced to that one primary character sheet. So if I put multiples on there, anytime I would take hit points away from them, it would probably drag them all down. So that is digital tokens. That seems to be everything that I really wanted to cover on this version or this episode of the Modifier. Those of you that are hanging out, do you guys have any questions, or is there anything that you guys have figured out about tokens that you want to share, or Josh, that might be a good point. The resizing issue, the page settings for grid sizes may be conflicting with the size of the tokens. That is true. That could be something that I would have to look into. We can go into the page toolbar here and check it out. I believe I'm using this one. Yeah, that's the one I'm at. So I can check out my settings, page settings for this map. Page size is pretty good. 1 unit equals 70 pixels. 1 unit equals 70 pixels. 1 unit equals 5 feet. That's the scaling. So I think that's the key, Josh. I think it might be this pixels number right here. You might be onto something right there. I'll have to look into that for the future. It's a very good point. I do appreciate that. Next thing I'm going to try to teach myself is this advanced Fog of War. Haven't really tried any of that, but I'd love to, just to give it a whirl, see what's different from the regular Fog of War and the dynamic lighting settings there. I'd like to give that a shot and see what happens with that. I'm gonna have to play around with it a little bit first before I do any videos or go live on it, but I'd like to definitely try some more things there. So yeah, I might have to check out these. It might be based off of pixel size. It may not really have anything to do with the size that I'm putting into PowerPoint as 1 inch by 1 inch. It may be more focused on the pixel relationship there. So I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. Thank you, Josh. I do appreciate that. That is awesome that you're chiming in on that. Welcome everybody. Thank you guys for tuning into the Modifier tonight. Right now I'm just using Roll20. Virtual Tabletop. I did some editing on some tokens to show you how you can create easy player tokens that you can just drag right in onto your maps that already have the hit points, armor class, passive perception already attached to it to make your lives so much easier. I also showed you how you can create your own monster manual and how you can attach these NPC character sheets to tokens and how to separate them from each other so you're not getting, as you're taking hit points off of one monster, if you have several monsters there, it's not taking the HP off of all of them. That seems to be a problem I've been finding out a lot, and I've been kind of showing people how to do that and to set those things up. Other than that, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to share with you guys tonight. Don't forget that we have a really big episode of Storm King's Thunder coming up this Friday. It will be starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It's episode 42, and it will be our special 1-year episode. We've been streaming for 1 year through Storm King's Thunder, and our players are still hanging out in the city of Yartar and finishing some unfinished business within that city. So make sure you guys come and check it out and hang out with us. Also, we're having a special giveaway tomorrow night. We'll be giving away the module Tomb of Annihilation tomorrow during the break. So make sure you guys tune in live for your chance to win. We'll open that up probably about halfway through the session in our Twitch chat. And other than that, I think that will be everything for tonight. I want to thank you guys for coming and hanging out. Chris and Josh, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me tonight and making some tokens. Hopefully I was able to help you with something. And if you get a chance, go ahead and check out Roll20.net. You can sign up for free to get access to the virtual tabletop. I believe that some of the features like dynamic lighting and some of those other features you do have to pay for a little bit. But anybody can sign up for Roll20. Anybody can get in a game in Roll20. Go ahead and just go visit the site, log in, create an account, see if you can find yourself a game. There's always a bunch of players looking for groups in the forums. Make sure you guys jump on there and check it out. Other than that, you guys have a great night. And don't forget, always make sure, especially whenever you're creating tokens, now that you have this knowledge, you are skilled, guys. You are in the know, and you can add your proficiency bonus. Everybody have a good night, and I'll see you next time.